Hey, so in this tutorial we'll learn further how to configure 3D Bits application and how to use bitbybit-runner theme app extension in particular. And I'll show you how you can replace your canvas in different locations on your product page. So first thing is that, now we had this test project, if you remember, and if we preview it, you see that the canvas loads the bike on the bottom of your product page, and that might be a thing that you actually want. But usually if you have products that have pictures, those pictures appear on the left side. So we have here in the demo store the same product that is a bike that was scanned, and you see that now it appears on the left side of the product page, not on the bottom. And that's something that you can also achieve by using the bitbybit-runner theme app extension block. So first thing I'll do, I'll just rename a little this project, and I'll copy paste the description from here. Oh, yeah, let's not zoom out. We only need text. So let's save. And if we go back to our theme template, we see that we have our canvas here and our block on the bottom. And the thing that you have to realize is that that block can just be replaced in other locations. So now it's on the top of the page and it's all still interactive, right? So you can rotate and do everything that you can wherever it is placed. So it is also possible to create a new section and also use this block, but you will need to then configure it again, with all the meta fields and everything. So be aware of that where you place that block on your website. So now the thing is that you see that there's no block on the left side of this page, and that's due to the fact that we haven't yet uploaded any media. So that means there's no pictures available to this product. And what we want to do is actually add the picture, but there will be another problem that I'll explain to you, and let's see that in a minute. So let's upload a new picture. Now I'll just use this bike photo. So now we have it, and we can just hit preview for this product. And you see that now we have this picture on the left, the form of the product went to the right, and our 3D canvas is still here on the bottom of the block list. So let's go back to this template preview. Let's reload it. So now you see the same thing that we saw when we previewed the product, and we have our representation of a canvas here on the bottom. What we want to do is replace it here, but whilst all of these, you see description, title, price, these are all blocks that you can replace. So you can move them around in this group. But this media element, Shopify doesn't allow developers to replace that with anything else, and that's quite problematic because this is the place that sort of fits naturally for 3D products and canvases. So we did develop a solution for that. Hopefully in the future, this will become a bit easier with Shopify if they will just fix this or update this and provide a good solution for it. But now, so I'll move my camera around a little so we could see all those properties here. So this is the setting page for bitbybit-runner theme app extension, and this block that we see here. It contains all the meta fields that we linked, if you remember it, and it contains additional settings. The setting we're interested in is this try to prepend. So try is the keyword here. Like, we will do our best and we will try to prepend it to the right location. And if it's not the right location, then probably it can fail, but we sort of think that usually on most of the themes it will work out, and sometimes you may need some expert to help you out maybe on placing it in the right location. So let's hit this button. Let's try to prepend. And now the product reloads. and you see that now our canvas is on top of the photo. And this might be a thing that you want. Maybe you represent your product both in 3D view and also in pictures, and that's perfectly fine. It could be an approach that you're after. If you just want to see a 3D view, then you can go back. So click on the block of BitByBit-runner, go back to this place, and you can also say that you want to remove the children from the element before prepending it. And that's a key setting that will also just remove all those pictures. The pictures will be visible while the canvas is loading, and then when it's done, then the pictures will be removed. That's how this sort of theme app extension allow this to happen. And the key to this approach is this query selector. Basically, we're looking for a element called product media wrapper in the div element. So this is something more coming from the programming of HTML. And if you're not familiar with that, you may need some experts to guide you. But basically, most of the themes have this product media wrapper. And then we just place our canvas in it and remove any content from it if that's what you intend to do. So as I said, this hopefully in the future will become easier with Shopify, but currently that's the only way we found to do that. So let's save this. And now if we go back to the preview, we refresh, you saw the picture before, and then the 3D view has been loaded successfully. And that's quite nice, right? Because now it sort of works as you would expect Shopify to work naturally with having 3D view. You can then click full screen and exit the full screen. That's quite a cool setup, I think. Okay, so another thing that I want to discuss are some settings of the template. So let's go back to it. So I'll move my head into the left side as well. Okay, so the first setting that we can change is this link to bitbybit-runner. And bitbybit-runner is a technology from bitbybit developers company that allows you to run those scripts inside the app. The runner contains all the code that is required to execute those scripts. So it contains BabylonJS game engine, OpenCascade CAD algorithms, in case you use them, JSCAD algorithms, physics engine, all kinds of things from 3D libraries that you can use in your scripts. So bitbybit-runner is a sort of JavaScript file. That's how it's called as well. You see here. That's what executes your code. So it's in version 0.15, and that's just an indication of the current release. If you want to update that, you can do that here. And we don't update this automatically for you. So when you will be updating the app, you will have to make a choice if you want to update this in the template or not. Always check the latest versions of BitByBit on the website or on our GitHub repos. There you can find all those versions if you need them. But in principle, if you configure your product, you set it up, it works with that particular version, even if it's older. I mean, it's usually fine, I think, to just keep it like that. Unless you really miss some features, I would just stay with an older version probably. But it's up to you, Of course, it's not also a bad idea to sometimes update in case there are some critical bug fixes or whatnot that your users may be experiencing. Okay, so this is the setting of the runner. If you want to learn more about the runner, you can just visit bitbybit.dev. In one of the blog posts, we have a good introduction of the runner. We introduce the technology with some examples how it can be used. You can also use the runner on your own websites if you want to, so not necessarily a 3D Bits app. You can just copy paste some scripts into your own websites, for example, via the runner. So this is a little bit of an explanation about this setting. Show full screen button is self-explanatory, right? It's controlling this button here. So if you have it, then you can enter the full screen mode. And probably that's what you want to have, I would imagine. If not, there might be some reasons that you don't want to show that to your users. You can just disable it here and it will disappear. So you see that now it's off. Okay, another thing, here we have an inline script and a public script URL settings, and these work in combination. Let's say your scripts are becoming really big, so maybe they don't really fit that input element, or they become slow due to that, or Shopify doesn't accept maybe too long values on the inputs. Then you shouldn't use the inline script anymore, and for those situations you just have to upload your script as an asset somewhere, make it publicly available. It can be on the Shopify CDN, for example, and use that URL in that meta field that we've linked. So this is the public script URL that you would use. Execute JavaScript. Basically, this is a meta field that we have configured, and it contains just a small snippet of code. Here you see that, let's move my head again here. So it contains a few things that are inline here. So we dispose the previous meshes. We execute the runner, the script with new inputs. So this code executes every time you update the input value, right? And this is more like a technical thing. We expose this code so that experts can configure some different way that you want to interact with the update features that we present. But usually you will just want to leave it as it is. So every time you change the input, you will clean up all the meshes that you receive from the script. And that will just keep your scene clear of old models. And let's go back to these settings. So JavaScript is something, probably will not need to touch, and just copy paste the default settings to your products. So camera position and camera target are two settings that we configure here, and you see that it's an array with 3 numbers. So 0, 1, 0 is the target where your camera looks at. And this is the position of the camera, and we don't allow you to control more settings of the camera in here, and that's due to the fact that if you really need more control, you can just do that in the BitByBit itself. In our editors, when you create the script, you can create the cameras and set them up correctly as you want them. So there you will have more settings, like maybe you want to change the camera speed, or how wide the camera rotation angles are, etc. These kinds of things you can configure in the script. So we just give you a very basic solution here that is available. So I see now that I left this fonts thing here with Roboto, and we don't really need that. So let's make this array clear. Our bike doesn't have any text, 3D text, so we don't need any fonts. And let's go further in the list. So these settings are quite important, and in the way that you load BitByBit runner, you can also say to the runner that you need additional things for your project. Depending on those things, you will be loading additional libraries. And that's done behind the scenes. But for example, if you say that you need OpenCascade technology kernel, we will include the additional web worker, and it will do some additional things. And that, of course, also takes additional resources and time to load. Which means that in cases where you don't need it, the advice would be to just disable it. In this case, actually, because we just load the 3D scan, right? We don't need the OpenCascade technology kernel. So we will say that we disable it, and we will save the settings. And this will save us some loading time when our viewers of the product visit the website. And of course, the runner will initialize faster, and it will have more benefits like that. And if you do need some CAD algorithms, of course, you would then enable the OpenCascade technology kernel. We will talk about that probably in future tutorials as well, and we will be using the OpenCascade kernel in BitByBit. So yeah, that's how it works. Okay, let's go back to the settings. We are going through this list and explaining how that works. So JSCAD is another CAD kernel. You see here some explanation of what the kernel does and how it works. We have enable key event listeners, and that's something that you don't need probably. So yeah, you can read about it here. Another important thing is this physics setting. And, you know, I don't really see many products that will use it, but who knows? So maybe you're selling, I don't know, car toys and you want to expose small games to the users that play with those cars. I don't know, like these are just some ideas. You may need to use the physics engine in some scenarios, or maybe your teams of developers can use that. I'm really not sure, but we do expose Havok physics engine. It's really powerful physics engine used in AAA games. So yeah, it's up to you to decide that you need that or not need that. So in this case, we just load 3D scans, so we don't need that, and we don't need to load the Havok then. And there are benefits in terms of speed to these kinds of things. The background color we discussed, I guess. We changed it to this blue color now, and it looks great. So fonts to include, this is something that, if you use OpenCascade technology kernel, and if you have a model that contains 3D texts, then you may need to load them. And we don't have that many prepared fonts that work well with 3D CAD systems. So we have these at the moment. This may increase in size as time goes on, but currently these are the fonts. And if you need to use just 3 of them, just include them in the array as explained here, and we will load them. So with each font, you will be loading additional static files as well. So be aware of that. Empty array, as we have now in the setting here, it just indicates that we don't need any fonts, and that's fine. So show spinner is something that happens when you load the model for the first time. I'm not sure we will see it. Now it's really fast because the asset is cached, but if it's not, then you would see a spinner. Also, when you change inputs, so this model is not really interactive, but if you would be changing some inputs, like changing the height, you would see a small spinner here, and you can choose whether you want that or not. If your scripts are really fast, you probably don't need to show the spinner. But if the computations might take a bit longer, then the spinner is quite a healthy indicator that the computations are happening. Disable inputs when computing. So that's something that we will look at when we have more inputs and we have some scripts, for example. You might want to disable all the inputs on the product form for as long as the computation takes place. So if you're computing, right, the new geometry, so let's say the user changed the width of your table, and you're computing the scene, and maybe it's a complex scene, and that might take 3 seconds, 5 seconds. You may want to disable the inputs so that user doesn't move the width while the computations are happening to a different location, because then probably the update function will not be able to fire correctly, etc. So this is something that you have to keep in mind when developing with 3D-Bits app, and something that you have to be aware of also as a developer constantly. So this is a possibility that we provide. And I think we went through all those settings. We demonstrated how to prepend everything, how that query selector works. And I think this video was just more about those settings, how to use them, how to configure these things, and what's exposed and what's not exposed. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this video useful, and let's see each other in the next ones. Cheers.